Okay. Sarah, since you are here, why don't you tell us a little bit about your friend Sean?
I've known Sean and his wife for probably 5 or 6 years. He's an attorney downtown. They're always out and about downtown with their dog, very involved in the community. That's about it.
Okay, and he's attended and
he's attended 2 meetings.
Okay.
Did complain about the chicken last week, but
okay. Did anyone get a chance to talk with Sean? I saw him and just chatted very briefly. But if you've known him for 5 years, I'm sure he's an upstanding young man. Rich, why don't, in the absence of Denny, why don't you go ahead and take Roy Richardson?
Sure. I spoke with Roy a couple of times, and Roy is transferring. He is a Rotarian already, and he's known Denny for some period of time. He has volunteered to take on the Zoom. He owns an IT security company, and feels fully capable of being able to create the Zoom. So the arrangement that I have with him is that this week I'm going to record Zoom one more time because he can't be there. And then he and I are going to meet sometime the following week, and we'll meet at Ace Cafe, and we'll set up everything we do, and we'll try to get it done so that he's experienced prior to the meeting of knowing what to do. Seems like a terrific guy, and I think he'll be involved in lots of our committees and activities and so on. So, okay.
Any other comments or questions about either of those candidates? If not, we will act on them at the end of the meeting in executive session. So let's go on to Ed and the treasurer's or the secretary's report.
Okay, secretary's report. We're doing well adding members. We're doing well in attendance. We've had about 20 people on Zoom and 50 people in person. Seems to be kind of how it's averaged out, and we're doing really well on guests. The number of guests is what I highlighted on the last page of the secretary's report. In the last 3 meetings, we've had 10, 15, and 8 guests. So things are good there. And the minutes, let me know if anyone has any corrections to the minutes for last meeting.
Okay. Any questions? Let's have accept Ed's offering the minutes as a motion, and
I'll make that motion to accept the secretary's report.
Okay, and approve the minutes as well.
And approve the minutes, yes.
Okay, second.
I will second.
Jim. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Are you unanimous?
It looks unanimous. And then let's move on. We have a resignation from Michael Aitchison, which leaves us an open slot for 1 year. And I have talked with Britt Lovett, and Britt has agreed to serve on the board if elected. And Britt also would chair, with additional support from the club and the board, a series of golf events to help raise funds. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve Britt as a board member to fill the unexpired term of Michael Aitchison.
I'll make that motion. That's a good selection.
Okay, motion by Rich. Is there a second?
Second.
And I think Greg had his hand up. Greg, is that a second?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have motion by Rich and a second by Greg. Any discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor of electing Britt Lovett who is a past president. Bob, do you have a question?
No, it's just premature on voting. Okay.
Okay. So Britt is a past president of the club and is willing to jump in and help us raise funds. So all in favor of electing him to a board to fill the unexpired term of Michael Aitchison, raise your right hand. Okay, I believe it's unanimous. Is there any opposed? Nope, it's unanimous. Okay. The next item I would like to defer because I think it takes more discussion of members and what they've done to choose them for honorary. And because we have a long agenda today, we'll address the honorary members last. If we have time, if not, we will move that to the July meeting. So let's go on then to item 4E. Ross, who is our treasurer, will not be renewing his individual membership. He is an accountant with RW Phipps, and Bob is going to become a corporate member, which makes Ross the alternate under that setup. So I would entertain a motion to elect me, Dick Harris, to be treasurer for 21-22, replacing Ross.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mary Ann. Is there a second? Second by Ross. Okay.
Chris had his hand up. He was waving.
Chris did too. Okay. Anyway, we'll have a vote. Is there any discussion of that? I was treasurer for 2 years before I became president, and Ross and Bob have agreed they will continue to do the club's tax returns, so that will be continue to be done by their CPA firm. So I think we're in good shape. So if there's no further discussion, everyone in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? It looks unanimous. Thank you. Now let's go on to the next item.
Hey, Dick,
yes.
before you move on from that, can you get it in the minutes that we're going to have new bank signers as the president-elect and treasurer?
We'll do that under the treasurer's report.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Dick, could I ask a favor? I may not be able to stay on the call very long. Could you move me up to do my report? It should be quick.
Okay, go ahead. But we may have a lot of discussion for the bylaws revisions, but in any case, go ahead, Jody. Where do we
Okay.
stand with the scholarships?
Yeah, it should be quick, Dick. We, on the 3 students that we funded last year, our information is that all 3 are going to qualify for a second year. We have the transcripts in hand for 2 of the 3, and the 3rd has been requested by the student. We should have it any day. We'll keep you posted, but our information is that that's going to be good. We'll be able to fund those 3. Then we have 2 scholarship applications in hand for new scholarships. And the committee seems to feel that they are great candidates. We'll be presenting them to the board next week. And then we are expecting this afternoon a third scholarship application to go along with that. So that's the report.
Okay, and then with those 6 applications, that would exhaust the funds available to fund scholarships for the coming year?
That is what we have voted so far to spend. There is more money in the scholarships that has been donated, but we have voted to do 3 new scholarships this year. But
Okay.
because of the gala, because of the golf tournament, we just got a check in, I believe, from one of our members, Bert McCree, for another $3,000. So we have more money in the scholarship fund, and then we have some money in the unallocated kitty to spend on community support. I know we have a couple of applications for grants in also at this meeting that we'll be discussing as well.
Okay, and the foundation board meeting is next Wednesday, the 15th?
It is next Tuesday, with the 15th. Tuesday, the 15th. That's correct.
Okay. Thank you for that report, Jody. And now we'll go on to the bylaws committee report and over to Bob Blackford. Bob?
Okay, thank you, Dick. I think that each of you should have received with the notice of the meeting copies of the marked up documents, which would be what we propose, we being the committee, propose as the amended and restated constitution of the club and the amended and restated bylaws of the club. Let me say to begin with that if you've looked at those, you know that they're just scads of little nits and gnats that are found throughout the Constitution and the bylaws, which are primarily insubstantial things, capitalization of defined terms and movement of language around with practically nothing of substance in there other than the things that Rich has got on his PowerPoint. Because of the nature of these documents, I'm still working on them to clean up these little things. And so what I would hope that we would do today is move approval of the amended and restated Constitution and amended and restated bylaws as presented to the meeting, together with the modifications that we approved at today's meeting, and further that the president have the authority to approve insubstantial changes over and above those that we approve at today's meeting, and that after all that, the president would be given approval to present the documents to the club at a regular meeting of the club to be held on June the 24th. With that, I think the only comment that I had received up till this point was from Bill Pieper, who pointed out an inconsistency between the club constitution as I had presented it and the club bylaws. The inconsistency being that the club constitution said that in order to be qualified for president, or for president-elect, that the candidate be a member of the club for 1 year unless the district governor said that wasn't necessary, whereas the bylaws said that the candidate for president-elect need to have been a member of our club for 4 years. And I think Bill's point is well made, and I would favor the change that he brought up, and that is that both of them use the 4-year prerequisite that we currently have in our bylaws. That's the only comment I've had so far. Anybody else has any, let's hear them.
Yeah, the 1 year, just for information, the 1 year came from a blanket template that Rotary uses, but that 1 year is probably not appropriate for a 101-year-old club that has over 100 members because of the history and the span of the club. So I strongly support the Constitution also having the 4 years, the same as has been in our bylaws for a number of years. So, Bob, as chair of the bylaws committee, why don't we go, I'm sorry, you already made the motion that
Well,
as
actually, I
chair
haven't.
of the bylaws committee.
Yeah, I actually haven't made the motion yet. I said that's the motion that I would favor that we take, but I haven't made it yet.
Okay, well, why don't we go ahead and then run through the PowerPoint, and then we'll put a motion on the floor and ask the board for discussion and action.
Okay, now I'm showing the bylaws now. We already showed the Constitution slide.
Well, let's go back and read through the Constitution.
You want me to stop sharing this?
No, can you go back one slide?
Sure, yeah.
Uh,
There's the Constitution.
These are the summary of the changes, okay? The provisions for having a satellite club were added throughout the bylaws revision and the Constitution. The meeting format added an online option. We did not have that before. We also want to change to conform to the bylaw requirement of 4 years as prerequisite to hold the office of president. And then various terminologies and languages, which all of which are insubstantial, were changed to conform to the new template provided by Rotary International. Okay, all of these then, with the exception of the error that Bill Pieper found and the 4-year requirement as a prerequisite for president, are in the red line documents you have. Okay.
Dick, there are a number of other changes that are in there that also correct some errors in our bylaws and Constitution and past. So all of that's insubstantial. The PowerPoint points out those things that are substantial, but it's mostly, the vast majority of the changes are simply cleanup items from either errors that were already, inconsistencies already in the documents that we had, or they are to conform to what the RI template suggests.
Okay.
Can I move to the bylaws now?
Yes.
Hey, Bob.
These two are the significant changes: adding a satellite club provision, adding the online option for meeting format, and writing a quorum being 1/3 of the club's members for decisions and a majority of decision for the directors' board decisions.
It's just slide 2.
Yep. So we've added the board meetings can also be held online or in person. Officer and director nominations are requested 6 weeks prior to election instead of 1 month. New member applications shall be approved or rejected within 30 days of properly committed submit or completed submittal. And that is simply to ensure the speedy action on new member applications. Regular meetings may be canceled due to a pandemic or a disaster, which it impacts the whole community. And then various terminologies and languages. An example of that is the old language has been changed to reflect that our youth organization is now Youth Services.
That's it.
And if you read through the red line, you'll see that there are 100 changes or more, but they're all format and inconsequential. With that, it bears saying that Bob has done an outstanding job of going through 1,400 pages of instructions, documents, and all of the related things, and verifying that what changes need to be made and incorporating them, and then presented the suggestions to the committee, and the committee reviewed each and every one. So with that, there's a motion. Let's put a motion on the floor. Bob, since you were chair of the committee, would you put the motion on the floor?
This motion will be just with respect to the Constitution, right, Nick? And then we'll act separately on the bylaws.
Okay,
I mean, I can do whichever way you want.
well, let's do them separately since they are
Okay,
separate
okay.
documents.
Okay, then I will make the following motion. I move approval of the 2021 amended and restated Constitution as presented at this meeting, together with the modifications approved at the meeting and such further insubstantial modifications, if any, as the president shall hereafter approve, and further that the same be presented for approval by the members of the club at a regular meeting of the club to be held on June 24 of 2021. And I so move.
Do we have a second? We have a second from Ross. Thank you, Ross. And now discussion. Were you all able to read the document and see the voluminous changes, most of which are format and moving a section from one place to another to comply with the new template that Rotary International has sent us? I would ask a discussion on the 4-year requirement for president. What are your feelings on that? Marianne? You're muted.
Yeah. I think the 4 years is the perfect number when you consider how much we're asking all of our presidential candidates to do and to be involved with before they are actually eligible. I don't see how you can do it in less years than that.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Just a question.
Jim?
Is this 4 years in our club or 4 years involved in Rotary?
It's 4 years in our club. Jim? Yeah.
The question is whether it's 4 years at the time they would become president, or 4 years from the time they would be elected president-elect. And that's a long period of time. And if it's 4 years from the time they're elected president-elect, I think that's too long.
It's 4 years to be eligible to be elected. And that would be, make it 5.5 years with the club from their entry to the day that they take office.
I'm not sure that that's correct.
That's a long time, especially.
I'm not sure that's correct.
That's a
Let me
long
check
time,
that.
especially if you have some.
Go ahead.
I'm saying that's a long time, especially if you have somebody that you would really like to have president that surfaces within 2.5, 3 years. To wait 5.5 years to even be, well, not considered, but 5.5 years is a long, long time.
Dick, I think if it's consistent with what we've done for other positions, I believe it is from when they take office. When they take their oath of office, they have to have had that minimum time.
Bob is looking it up. I
Yeah.
think it's
Yeah, I defer to Bob.
Me too.
Mm. Okay. All right, it's taken me a few minutes to wander through this. Yes. It's under the eligibility for officers, I think.
Are you looking at the bylaws, Bob?
I'm looking, yeah.
I guess in general, I'm in support of being a little more restrictive. The president of our club is a pretty important post. And, I might have added you needed to be chair of a committee for a year or some other things to show that you understand the club a little more before you begin to lead it. But I'm flexible either way.
Okay, what the provision says that to be eligible for election as president-elect must have been an active member of the club for at least 4 consecutive years prior to the date of taking office as president-elect. So it's not when they would take office as president. It's at the time that they would take office as president-elect.
okay.
Okay,
that-
good.
Yeah,
That answers it.
go ahead, Jim.
That answers it.
It's
already there.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, are you, Greg?
I'm sorry, I had a question. Yeah, on page 10, section 2, it's under club membership composition. I suspect this was an addition as a result of an RI expectation or requirement, but it's about diverse club membership. It says the club's membership should represent a cross section of the business, professions, occupations, and civic organizations in its community, including age, gender, and ethnic diversity. I was just curious if this statement is limiting in what recruitment is allowed to do if the club is not reflective of the community, or if it can be written as a more aspirational type statement, or if it is. I wasn't sure when I read it. I thought, does that limit the club if you're, for example, as the club is now underrepresenting women relative to the community? Does that mean that future recruitment is restricted until the balance is more even?
Yeah, it is aspirational because the word there is should represent as opposed to must represent.
Okay, just want to clarify.
Any other questions or comments? Are you ready to vote on the Constitution, including the change to make it?
Will that include the 4-year requirement?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Opposed? I see no hands, so we have approved the Constitution and will pass it forward. And now on to the bylaws. Bob, would you like to make the motion for the bylaws?
Okay, the motion for the bylaws would be, I move approval of the 2021 amended and restated bylaws as presented at this meeting, together with the modifications approved at this meeting and such further insubstantial modifications, if any, as the president shall hereafter approve. And further, that the same be presented for approval by the members of the club at the regular meeting of the club to be held on June 24, 2021, and I so move.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that, yeah.
We have a second from Rich. Okay, discussion of the bylaws.
Yeah, I want to, the change in the quorum to 1/3 members, does that include the satellite club members? I mean,
Yes.
when we're having a vote, do we include the satellite club in our total membership?
No, it does not. The satellite club is broken out in DAC. The Rotary International doesn't make a differentiation in terms of that, but we do charge different dues. So Rotary International accommodates satellite clubs as being separate from their sponsor club.
All right, is that clear in the bylaws, Bob?
I think as long as Rich is around forever, it is. Yeah. No, I think it is. Yeah.
I don't think the satellite club is a permanent appendage to our club either, because once they get to be large enough, they can break off after they have 21 members. They can break off into their own club. So it's only a situation of us giving birth to a satellite club, whether it becomes a real Rotary club or not. It's.
I mean, I understand that, but on page 4G, it's for satellite club, it says a potential club whose members shall also be members of the club with a capital C. My only worry is that like the satellite club grows large, and then we need them for a vote for our business. And if they're supposed to be included, they don't even come to our regular meetings, that we wouldn't be able to hold the vote. I just want to make that clear.
Do you want to modify that section by inserting the phrase excluding satellite club membership?
Yeah, whatever you guys or Bob thinks would make that clear. Because we don't define, I don't think we define members in the bylaws either. But yeah, just to clarify that they aren't voting members.
We do define members by saying a member other than an honorary member of the club in good standing. And so that, it sounds to me like maybe that does include satellite club members because you've only got two types of members. So we have active and honorary, and honorary aren't included in the definition of member.
I mean, can we amend this to say, a member would be a member other than honorary member or satellite club member? I mean, do we want satellite club members to be voting on?
Well,
I'm not trying to take a stand. I'm just asking what.
No, it's an excellent point. It's an excellent point.
The satellite club has their own bylaws and their own constitution.
Right.
I think it probably would be worthwhile to identify the quorum as being excluding honorary members and excluding satellite clubs, because the satellite club is also encouraged to have their own meetings. And as I say, they have their own documents. They have their own bylaws and they have their own constitutions. So
Right.
we do not encourage them to come visit our meeting. So they really, generally speaking, don't even have an invitation. We don't send them the link on Zoom to attend the meeting. They're welcome to come anytime they want.
Okay.
Right. So I would suggest, Bob, in the bylaws, in the definitions under E, other than honorary members or satellite club members. And then in H, whenever we talk about a quorum, we say the minimum number of participants when a vote is taken, colon, 1/3 of the club's members. We capitalize that M in members to make sure we're talking about the same
Yeah.
defined term of member.
I think that works.
Okay.
What do you think, Rich?
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we'll make a change in E in the definition of members. And then in H, we won't have to make a change in H then.
Well, other than, I would like to capitalize that members.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Capital
Yeah,
M.
and in fact, that's one of the changes I had made anyway that you haven't seen yet among the nits and nats. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's all I've got.
Okay. So is there any opposition to that change? If not, it will stand by consensus, and the motion as written or as stated allows changes that we make before we vote. So we don't need a amendment motion. Okay, any other comments or changes, Greg?
I was curious, on page 7, under D, I just wanted to clarify, there's what appears to be either a language correction, where it's instead of appointment of the nominating committee, it says announcement of the nominating committee slate. And I was just wanted to clarify, is that intended to shorten the time that nominations can be made from the floor, or is it something that happens as an accident, or am I reading that wrong?
No, you're reading it correctly, and the answer is it is intended to shorten it. Let me tell you why. Currently, the way our bylaws read is that from the time that the nominating committee is designated by the president, nominations can be made from the floor. That means even before the nominating committee has announced their slate. This creates a bit of a problem in that if there is a nomination from the floor, regardless of when it comes, it has to go on the ballot. So before the nominating committee has announced its slate, you may have a nomination from the floor. The result then is that a ballot is going to have to be prepared and sent out. And on the other hand, if there aren't any nominations from the floor and you just have the nominating committee slate, when it comes time for the election, the president can declare that they are unanimously elected and the balloting process is not necessary. I mean, my feeling is that that the nominating committee slate, if you knew what it was, might be perfectly satisfactory the way it is. Of course, if someone nominates from the floor somebody that's included in the nominating committee slate as it comes out later on, that solves that problem. But we got lots of good people, and my concern is to try to make the process run as smoothly as possible. And it doesn't really foreclose the possibility of somebody making a nomination from the floor, because after they've heard the nominating committee slate, after the nominating committee slate has been announced, they can still make a nomination from the floor. So, I mean, I think there's adequate protection for people to be able to get their candidates before the membership. And I think changing this, it does telescope down the time. You're quite correct on that. It telescopes it down to just the period of time after the slate is announced and before the close of nominations, which is 2 weeks later.
The other thing that it does, Bob, is that also we've extended the nominations from the floor. We've extended it to 6 weeks instead of 4 weeks. So we've actually made that longer.
Yeah, that really isn't the reason why we did that. The reason why we did that is that the current bylaws say a month. You
Right.
cannot go through the process that we have in a month's time. I mean,
Right.
if you back off what's necessary, various timeframes that are built into the bylaws can't be done in that period of time. So
Right.
it can be done in 6 weeks, but it can't be done in a month. So
Yeah. No, I wasn't saying we did it because of that. I was just saying coincidentally that's been extended to 6 weeks instead of 4 weeks.
It removes inconsistencies in the process that don't need to be there, but without foreclosing anyone's options.
Yep.
Okay. Other questions? Are you ready to vote on the bylaws? All in favor of the motion for approving the bylaws and sending them forward, raise your right hand. Okay. Those opposed? I see no opposition, so it is unanimous. Thank you for that. And I would
Dick,
like,
Dick, you and I are going to need to get together in the next day or so and finalize what it is that's going to be sent to the members.
we will do that and make those little nits, correct those little nits and the two substantive changes that were offered. So the board knows we are awarding Bob Blackford Rotarian of the Month for his work on the bylaw committee, and we'll be happy to award that to you, Bob, at the next meeting. You show up probably on the 24th to present to the assembled members.
Well, that's very thoughtful. I'm reminded of the quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson, who said, "A foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of small minds." But these are not, for the most part. I mean, there are some things in there that maybe are almost a foolish consistency, but by and large, what we have done is not in the sake of a foolish consistency. Thank you.
Great job, Bob. Thank you so much. And I saw a few members clapping when I announced you were going to be a Rotarian of the Month for all the work that you've done. So with that, let's go on then to the treasurer's report. Ross?
Okay, I'll try to be brief. For the month of May, we took in total revenue of $3,417. Our total expenses and cost of goods sold were $7,227. So we had net negative $3,800 and change. For the year to date, the 11 months ended May 21, we've taken in total revenue of $73,241. Our cost of goods and expenses were $66,618. So we are positive of $6,623 for the 11 months. As pointed out in the memo, our revenue for the current year as opposed to last year, same period, is down by 80,000. But the reason for that is, as everybody knows, for most of the year we were remote, so there was no lunch revenue and consequently no lunch expense. And also, we did not have the poker tournament this year that we will have later this year. I think they're planning for sometime in November. For the balance sheet, we have total cash position of 106,000, which is up about 20,700 from the prior year. Our equity is 81,000, which is up 2,280 from prior year.
So in summary, we are in pretty decent financial shape, isn't it?
Yeah, we are definitely solvent, and looks like we'll end the year pretty close to budget, given all things considered, given the challenges of the year.
Okay, thank you, Ross. Any questions for Ross? We would entertain a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Can we add to that motion whoever we need to get added to the signature cards or whatever we need to do?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. For the signature cards, we need to approve the regular members as signers, which would be the president-elect, the president, the treasurer, and the immediate past president. But since I will occupy both those, immediate past president, treasurer, there will be 3 signers this coming year unless the board chooses to name an additional signer.
The only issue with having only 3 is, sometimes it's difficult to get everybody together to sign checks, but so we managed during the pandemic just by driving around and doing it. So I don't think that should be a big problem.
Okay, can we add that then to the treasurer's report and entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Ed, motion by Ed. Is there a second? Second by Greg Torito. Thank you, Greg. And discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of the motion to approve the treasurer's report, signify with raising your right hand. Okay, any opposed? I believe it's unanimous, so thank you. And now we are on to committee reports. John, since you've been long standing, let's go ahead and have you report, and then we'll go to Bill Pieper. You're muted, John.
Am I open now?
Here you are.
Okay, good. I'll be as brief as I can. First, the foundation committee, and I think to say is that the foundation committee started the year with $4,820 of DDF, which the club has distributed $2,000 in district grants and the other $2,820 to a global grant for providing funds for equipment at a drug rehabilitation center in Central Florida. I'll talk about those district grants in a minute. This year, we had at the present time, we have 65 sustaining members and 5 E-Ray members. Total raised was $13,522, or about $120 per capita. This is the largest amount of money raised by our club through the annual fund since the year 2013-14. That's when we had 156 members, and we have 101 or 109, I forgot right now. I'll go back and add, are there any questions on the foundation committee's report?
John, no question, but thank you for all the work that you do on a continuing basis on the Rotary Foundation Committee. Outstanding.
We need to thank the following people as well, and that's George Huffman, Ed Four, Sandra Woodall, Drew Holtgren, Jim Stowers. Now, I'm going to talk about the food report, and there's 2 in that involved. And one is we did the district grants, which was 4 district grants for $500 at our Title I schools. of Eccleston, Ivy Lane, Rock Lake, and Washington Shores. We had 4 Rotarians who spearheaded each school. Eccleston was Kathy Simmons, I'm sorry. Ivy Lane was Mike McGrath, Rock Lake was Sasha Manovsky, and Washington Shores was Greg Torito. Those 4 people made 8 trips to the grocery store, where we spent $2,059.39, and we bought 1,291 items for the food pantries in those stores. We feel like that an estimated 1,100 people, students and family members, were able to be served some way during the last year. Now, the other is the food security program, and I'm going to kind of say that this is, of course, something that started a year ago, that we were planning to use the Second Harvest Food Bank to provide additional foods to those 4 schools. And the reason is they have food is priced at 19 cents a pound. Unfortunately, they do not have a great deal of breadth of items, and that's why the food pantry filled in so well. As of right now, the utilization of that $2,500 has been very minimal. Only Ivy Lane and Washington Shores have been able to use that funds because the Orange County Public Schools has been able to fund a whole lot of food through federal and state money. I expect to see more utilization of that money this coming year. We raised a total of, oh goodness, I don't have that in here, but anyway, about $19,000 to be used in that program. So we still have about $9,000 that can be used. The last program is the literacy, broken into 2 parts. The Wild Horse Tales, which is our program working with the first graders in 5 schools. Thanks to Joe Boy and Greg Torito and Mary Ann, and also Sarah Carlson, who helped sticker some labels in there. And all of those people helped to make that. We did a virtual presentation to the students, which was as well as received as well as could possibly be from COVID, because no volunteers could get into any of the schools this year. We hope it will change next year. There were 351 first graders who received 2 books and had the book read to them by Greg or Mary Ann. The last part of the literacy program is our book fairs, which again were a victim of the COVID this year. At first they were on, then they were off. Then they were on, and you could have a virtual, and then it was off. And finally, we were able to put together a book fair at Ivy Lane in March. Unfortunately, Scholastic has messed up, and we have, to my knowledge, and I'm still trying to track it down, the books were ordered. There's about $4,000 worth of books, $4,100. They have not been received. Sam Danner and I are working on that. The second book fair at Rock Lake, the books have now been received. The labels have been installed, and I will be working with Janet Ludwig, who is the personnel at Rock Lake, to make sure that we get the 270 or so books to the students at those schools. Been a hard year, and I hope that next year will be much better. Any more questions on any of those programs?
Okay, thank you, John. As always, you do a super job, and I appreciate you coming to the board meeting to give us a wrap up for this year. Great job, truly great job under really difficult circumstances. And now let me go to the final item on our agenda. Since this is my last board meeting, I want to take just a minute to review this year. I had 4 goals that I set at the beginning of the year. One was to earn the Rotary citation. This is a big deal, but the jury is still out, though we've accomplished much this year despite the pandemic. You just heard some of the things that John and his committee did. Super job. We should earn the citation, but we have to get all of the things we've done into the system. My second goal was to expand public relations, and thanks to the super work of Bill Pieper, Joe Boy, Natalie Polino, and a few others, we've truly moved our public relations and public image to a higher level with our new website, new graphics, and great Monday memo and Wednesday edition newsletters. We really put effort into that, and it paid off. Thirdly, I wanted as a major goal to write a strategic plan. That goal was completed. The plan is approved by the board and is now in effect. It's a solid beginning, and we went further. We updated our constitution and bylaws, action which the board took today, and the membership will take to approve on June 24th. All of those new documents put our club on a new path, a better path to a brighter future. And then finally, the third goal was to build membership. This area has been far less than a success, but we will end the year with more than 100 members at current rate, although our club will shrink a few. The number yet to be determined. Now, those goals open the door to implement a new business model for the club, one that uses fundraisers to make the club successful and increase our community impact, one that is much less dependent upon member monetary contributions than in the past. And despite our contentious discussions over the budget, we needed one more year to make that change. And thankfully we have it, and we will make that change under Rich's leadership in the coming year. So when we look at all of that, I think despite the pandemic, we've had a great year. So I'd like to finally recognize retiring board members, Ross Oppenheimer, Marianne Dean, Bob Blackford, Greg Torito, Emerson Thompson, and non-voting member Jody Walker. Thank you all for your time, your talent, and your contributions to this mostly successful year. And I'd like to especially recognize Bill Pieper for the tremendous job he has done this past year in supporting me and offering sage advice as our immediate past president. Bill, too, is retiring from the board because he will no longer be the immediate past president. I will be. So thank you all. Thank you for serving on the board. Thank you for all you have done and contributed. It's been a good year, and I owe a debt of gratitude to each one of you. So thank you. And now one last bit of business. For those who are not board members or incoming board members, we would ask you to check out so that we can go to executive session and talk about our new member applicants. Okay. We have two applicants. The two applicants are Roy Richardson and Sean Recksteiner. I would like a motion to approve them for membership.
I'd make that motion.
Motion by Rich. Is there a second? Second by Ross. Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, shall we go to the vote? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? No opposition. We have 2 new members. Please circulate those members this afternoon. Tammy, and is there any last business for us to address? If not, we stand adjourned, and I am on my way to represent the club at Art Dasher's memorial service downtown. Again,
We're gonna push that honorary member to the next meeting.
yes, please, because I'm out of time now. I have to be downtown by 2:00. So thank you all, and we'll see you on Thursday, hopefully, and certainly the 24th for our assembly. Okay. Farewell.
Dick, a big shout out to you for a terrific job. Thanks for everything you've done.